Hi there. Welcome back. So we're going through the Iowa Buyer Pack, and so again, this is the next one we're going to be working on. So we're pretty much done with all of the normal agency policy stuff. So that's all done, and this one here is what we call a buyer agency agreement. And so this one is a little more complicated than some of the other ones that we've discussed. Some of the other ones are informational only. Remember, this one here is a contract. And so as we talk through this, you as a again with Keller Williams, we want you to be a business owner, and we want you to be business minded. And so as you walk through these, we want you to be able to think through this and how you want to run your business. So I'll kind of go through here and talk about the different options that you have and the different ways that you can fill things out to meet the type of business that you want. So again, this part up here is pretty easy. This agreement's entered into by prospective buyers, Bob and Betty Buyer, and the brokerage is Keller Williams Siouxland, and representation agreement. So this is a contract. It's a bilateral contract. In other words, we are promising something as a firm, but in return they have to promise something as a buyer. And so how that looks is representation agreement. So a buyer retains and authorizes broker on an exclusive. So if you intend to enforce this at a later date, in other words, have this be an enforceable contract, it always has to be exclusive. If you do non-exclusive, they can go out and buy a house from somebody else tomorrow, and you're not going to get paid. So be careful of that. I actually went to one of our agents had something where somebody had bought a house in Lamar's, and they did not have exclusive box checked. I went and said, hey, we have agency with them. I dug into the form, found the form, and it was neither one of these boxes were checked. And so if neither one of the boxes are checked, it automatically reverts to non-exclusive. So remember, as if you want these enforced, it's always going to be exclusive. So a broker on a exclusive basis to locate and negotiate for the purchase of real property as may be acceptable to the buyer. If buyer appoints broker as buyer's exclusive agent, buyer agrees to conduct all negotiations for property through the broker, that's you, and to refer broker all inquiries in any form received from real estate brokers, which is other people, salespersons, prospective sellers, or any other source, including for sale by owners, during the time this buyer agency agreement is in effect. If buyer retains brokerage on a non-exclusive basis, buyer is free to independently contract with other brokerages on a non-exclusive basis. So just remember, they're on their own if it's not exclusive. So if buyer understands that broker may, in the conduct of broker's business, represent other prospective buyers, these other buyers may consider and make offers to purchase through the broker. That's just saying that we can work with multiple people. So buyer consents to broker's representation of such potential buyers before, during, and after the expiration of this agreement. So that, in other words, you're not dating, you're not getting married. You can still continue to date other buyers. They just can't date anybody else. So it's actually a pretty good gig. But remember, you have to that's your first decision you want to make. Second decision is how long do you want your retainer period to be? Most of it, industry standard, is about 6 months. So I've got this one from January 1st to July 1st. And this is where it talks about a bilateral contract. Broker's obligations, client's obligations. So as the buyer's agent, broker will use broker's best efforts on behalf of buyer to offer counseling, which benefits the buyer, expand the search for real property beyond the multiple listing service to properties including not limited to for sale by owner, foreclosed properties, bank trust apartments, new construction. Basically, you'll door knock if you have to. In other words, you're going to be out beating the bushes to try to find them a house. When you find a house, you're going to negotiate on the buyer's behalf and attempt to obtain the property buyer wishes to purchase at the most favorable price and terms. And then D, represent buyer on a confidential basis and not reveal personal or financial information to anyone except the information which shows an owner that a buyer is qualified to purchase the home. In other words, we can't disclose any confidential or private information. Disclose matters required by law, which are known, such as property condition. Again, that's true no matter what. So, and then buyer's obligation is to work with the broker for purchase, lease, rental, exchange, or option of real property as may be applicable. Furnish broker with relevant personal financial information in order to establish buyer's ability to purchase real property. Use independent property conditions and hazardous materials inspections relevant to buyer, as well as research community or area. In other words, it's up to them to research the area to make sure that they want to do that. And then pay for when due all inspection services ordered by broker at buyer's request from outside sources such as surveys, soil tests, title reports, engineering studies, hazardous materials, blah blah blah. And then, okay, so that states what we have to do, what they have to do, and then the specific or general. So this can be as specific or general as you want, and you can do residential Sioux City 100 to 150, location Sioux City. Anyway, so and if you put down 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-stall garage, and they buy a 4-bedroom, 1-bath, 3-stall garage, then you probably won't be enforceable. However, if they buy something, from someone else and you want to enforce this, you should leave this pretty well open. So, and then also it lets you have that first discussion with the buyer as to what they're looking for. So it does facilitate that as well too. Dual agency potential. Again, we already talked through that, and this one just says that they do desire that, and that dual agency potential and consent agreement is attached. So we don't have to go through that again, but that just says that they're okay with that potential of dual agency in your future. So professional service fee. Now remember, this is where you can explain to them, and we have to be a little bit careful. NAR just changed, just had a big rule change where they came and said that a buyer's agent can't say, "We work for you for free." So don't ever say that to a buyer. What you say is, a buyer's agent normally gets compensated through the multiple listing service, and I put here normally paid by seller through the MLS, and that's usually what I put in there. Or you can actually put in there a flat fee that if you know that sometimes if you buy a for sale by owner, they may not want to pay anything, and so that the buyer would have to agree to pay it. But they just need to understand that you normally get paid through the MLS, and that's where your compensation comes from. So, but if you put this in there, that'll cover you. And then broker is or is not authorized to negotiate a brokerage fee paid by a cooperating broker, which that's always marked is, and because that's something that we have to do. A lot of times, if you find a property that's outside of the MLS, and we have to negotiate with that other company to receive payment for that. So, and then this is a 90-day protection period. It just says within 90 days after the expiration date, if they purchase any property which was presented to the buyer by us during the term of this agreement, a list of such properties, we give them a list of properties that we showed to them. And if they would happen to buy one of those within 90 days, you can go back on them and get compensated. So, and that's where buyer agency gets a little bit complicated. Is I usually don't fill these out unless I'm saying that I'm going to be willing to enforce them. And we have done that. I as a broker have gone back and enforced these with buyers, and it depends on the situation. So. Disclosures of buyer's identity, usually that's okay, so you does give permission to do that. Brokerage services only, this does not apply to anything that we do here within the office. Request to complete forms, again, we always have to get permission from buyers and sellers to prepare these forms for their signature. No modifications to be made without being put in writing and signed by all parties. Again, fax transmission, that just says any electronic forms of signatures or signed an email, that's all considered original documentation. And again, just like the listing agreement, this is the entire agreement. We don't have any side deals or anything. So, and again, this is a legal binding contract. If not understood, seek competent legal advice. And then dates and signatures down here. So, so that being said, let's go through and paraphrase this for you too, and I'll tell you how I do it. And again, I want you to be able to do set these up to how you want to run your business. So here's my paraphrase. So Bob and Betty, so we talked about agency policy, and so this is what we call a buyer agency agreement. And so this is entered into through you guys with our brokerage, Keller Williams Suhan, and this just says that I'm going to be exclusively representing you through this transaction, and that it's going to go through from today for 6 months during the 1st of July. And it just says that as an agent, I'm required to go out and look, and if I find the best property that I can, and if I have to expand the search to door knocking and for sale by owners, I'll do that. I'm going to negotiate on your behalf. I'm going to represent you on a confidential basis, and know that I'm going to put your wishes ahead of my own, and in anything that I know about the property, I will absolutely disclose that to you. However, in return, I just ask that you work with me exclusively, and if there's anybody else out there that you bump into in an open house, you let them know that I'm working with you. And then if there's anything out there that you see that you want to see, call me right away, and I'll get you in it right away. And then I'll just need some personal information from you as far as a pre-approval letter. And again, we'll work together to do home inspections and that kind of stuff. So I just ask that you work with me exclusively, and understand that my value is my time and talent and experience to you, and I just hope that you'll see that as we're working together. So again, I'm gonna submit and commit to you that I'm gonna work as hard as I can, but on return, I need to have your commitment that you're gonna work with me and only me. So, and again, specific type. This is what we're going to be looking for: residential property in Sioux City, $100,000 to $150,000. And again, we just signed all the dual agency stuff, so you're okay with that. How I get paid? So I normally get paid by the seller through the multiple listing service. Even though any commission I would receive comes from the seller side, I have no ties to them whatsoever unless it's dual agency. And so, but normally you don't have to worry about that. And again, any commission I get is going to come from the seller side. So let's see. And then if this does expire and we haven't found anything, this is a 90-day protection period. Just saying, if anything that we go through, if you decide to buy that at that time, we have that protected. But I have to give you a list of items that we looked at. You're okay with me disclosing your identity as we make offers? This one here doesn't apply to you, and again, this is saying you're okay with signing forms that we have prepared for you. We'll make no modification without everything in writing and signed by you. If we do a lot of electronic signatures, and all the electronic signatures are considered original documentation, and this is the entire agreement. We don't have any side deals or any thing hiding in the background. So if you're all okay with that, go ahead and sign right here. And then put your address and phone number for me. And then break script there. So then this is, again, I've got all the agent stuff in green, all the buyer stuff in yellow, and it just highlights where you're supposed to sign on your side. So really, again, buyer agency can be an hour-long conversation pretty easily. So on this one, I would expect that you would feel free to, again, call me and we can go through this at length, and I do live classes on this as well. So, but this should be enough information to get you at least started. So, call me with any questions. Have a great day.